Yes, the iPhone 7 is the best phone you can ever buy. It gave me god powers. Go buy it right now. That's it for this video. See you in the next one. Click on these videos and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next one. No, I'm just kidding. It's a little more complicated than that. The iPhone 7 was originally released in September of 2016 and was one of the most controversial iPhones yet due to the removal of the headphone jack. Is it still worth buying almost 5 years later? Let's find out. Before we begin, according to my analytics, less than 1% of my viewers are cool and drive Teslas. The rest of you drive Nissans or something. What I'm trying to say is, please subscribe. It's free and you can unsubscribe at any time. Enjoy the video. The iPhone 7 can be found for as low as $100 US or $150 Canadian, which makes it an ideal budget phone. It comes in rose gold, silver, gold, jet black, and my personal favorite, matte black. You can only get this phone in open box or refurbished condition now. Apple doesn't sell it officially anymore. If you can, go for open box. You'll get all the accessories and will have a phone in like new condition. With refurbished, it's really a lottery. The battery condition will be worse and the condition will vary heavily. You can see the case marks that the previous owner left on my iPhone, and the paint is chipped and damaged. My iPhone also has some weird splotches on the screen, as you can see here, but you can't really tell unless you're looking at something white. It's all cosmetic damage, and even a perfectionist like me has gotten used to it. Just something to take note of when buying a refurbished iPhone. The build quality on this iPhone is superb. You're buying an older flagship phone, which means the feel of the phone is top notch. It's still a $700 phone, just discounted due to its age. The aluminum back means there's no wireless charging, but it won't crack and the matte finish doesn't scratch easily. One thing to note, however, is that the paint on the matte black model does seem to fall off after a while. That only seems to be because of cases. If you just keep your phone in a soft case the entire time, it should be fine. Another noteworthy feature of the iPhone 7 is its water resistance, not waterproof ability. No phone is waterproof. The iPhone 7 can stay in up to a meter of water for up to 30 minutes. Not the best, but at this price point, water resistance is hard to come by. It's nice to get that peace of mind. You shouldn't charge your phone for at least 5 hours after it's been exposed to water, and the water resistance does wear out a bit. Another reason to buy open box. The speakers do sound weird after coming in contact with water, but this is normal and I made a video that can eject all the water and have your speakers in tip-top shape. In terms of screen, we have a 4.7-inch 326 ppi LCD display that has a peak brightness at around 600 nits. Not the brightest and certainly not the best, but it gets the job done. The phone has some of the biggest bezels you'll ever see with a home circle. The home circle doesn't move at all actually. It's pressure sensitive, so when you press it, it vibrates a motor. I find it really satisfying to click. This home circle has Touch ID built into it, and in a world where masks are the norm, this is really appreciated. I might actually be the only person who likes the bezel look better than the notch look. There's just something good looking about perfectly balanced bezels.
Pretty, isn't it? Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Up here we have the earpiece as well as the front-facing camera. Down here we have a lightning port, speakers, and a microphone. The bottom speaker and the top earpiece work together to create a stereo sound experience. Since this is the first generation of iPhone to have this feature, it's not perfect but it works, and it's really good for audio noob me. The port down here, that's called a lightning port. Wouldn't expect that in 2021, would you? It's the crappy proprietary connector Apple just won't get rid of. Apple says this phone doesn't support fast charging, but in my personal experience, it charges a little faster if you use a power brick with a higher wattage. Speaking of power, the iPhone 7 has a 1960 mAh battery. This battery isn't stellar but can last you through the day with basic use, although it might cut it close. Keep it on low power mode to ensure you won't run out. Heavy games like Call of Duty Mobile run fine, but it will only give you 2 hours of gameplay before the battery is dead. I was losing 2 to 3% of battery life every match on medium graphics, depending on how long the match was. Definitely not a good gaming phone, but it'll work for normal use. Speaking of gaming, let's talk about performance. This phone is rocking an Apple A10 Fusion chip, which is nearly 5 years old. However, it's still featured on recent Apple products like the iPod Touch and the 7th generation iPad, so it's probably going to last a few more years. 2GB of RAM is not a lot on paper, but it's certainly enough for the iPhone 7. The phone is fine, but definitely not as fast as the newer ones. Duh! Navigating the UI is kind of choppy, and sometimes the phone freaks out for a second or two. It can take a second to load things up, and it's certainly not the best. However, it's still faster than most mid-range Android phones today, and handles heavy games like Call of Duty Mobile like a champ. There is that battery life though. The camera, well, it's the best 4.7-inch smartphone camera I've used. Specs first. It's a 12 megapixel rear-facing wide-angle sensor with an f1.8 aperture. The front camera is a tiny 7 megapixel camera. The front camera can handle up to 1080p at 30 frames per second, and the rear camera can handle up to 4K at 30 frames per second. Photos are still very nice, but they can get grainy, especially in low light. Video is still very nice. I'm not a camera guy, but I do enjoy shooting video and photos, so here's a bunch of media I shot. Keep in mind that skill matters more than the camera, so I'm not really showing the camera's true potential. I try though. So this is an example of the microphone and the front-facing camera in moderate lighting conditions. There's the sun right there, and yeah. Overall, this iPhone is still very solid. However, I do not recommend you getting it in 2021 if you can get something better. The iPhone 8 costs just a little more, and it'll last you at least another year. The iPhone SE costs a little more than that, and it'll last you another 4 years. I made a video comparing the two phones, which you can watch in the card up here. Here with the iPhone 7, this is probably the last year it'll be supported. It's nearly 5 years old. However, this does not mean it's a bad phone, and can definitely last at least 2 more years. In fact, it's a fine phone, and I honestly wouldn't mind using it for 4 more years too much. It does everything I need it to do. It can call, text, take photos and videos, play heavy games, and do everything I need it to do. If you're just a kid who needs to keep in touch with your parents, this is more than fine. My final verdict? It's old, not obsolete. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.